Welcome to Beyond the Felt, sponsored by 3Bet Poker Clothing. I'm your host, Jason Harrell. Today, I'm joined with Scott Clements. Scott, pleasure to have you on the show today.
Appreciate you having me.
WPT Championship, WSOP bracelet winner. You've got quite the resume.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, we only get the best here for Beyond the Felt, and especially with the 3Bet pros. You guys are pretty fierce. You got a great lineup. But we're not going to let you off easy. We're jumping right into it. We're going to go with the questionnaire created by the great Bernard Pivot, later popularized by James Lipton. Got some questions for you. Ready?
I'm ready.
All right. First word. What is your favorite word?
Favorite word? I think my favorite word would be can't. Can't, yeah. It's because, I really like it when somebody says I can't do something, because it makes me want to do something so much more.
Yeah.
So it really drives me to want to do something. I mean, obviously not bad things, like you can't go jump off the Empire State Building, but you can't make it here, you can't do this, you can't do that, and I will try to do everything in my power to make sure that I can do that, just to prove them wrong.
Awesome. Well then, what's your least favorite word?
You know, I really feel like it's awkward. It's very awkward when, say, I have won a tournament, and then somebody is saying, "Good job" or "Congrats" or "Great job." I don't know. I can't really put a specific word on it.
Yeah.
But when I do good, I just want someone to say "Good job" and then walk away. So I guess it would be when they were asking me about it and trying to give me praise, because that's not something that I really enjoy. It kind of feels awkward for me because I'm like, well, thank you. I mean, but I don't know what would be the perfect word for that.
Yeah.
But I don't really like
congratulatory.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like dealing with those kind of situations. I
Well,
remember winning my first WPT and going back to, it was Thanksgiving right after, and it was the worst Thanksgiving ever. I did not want to talk about it at all. I was hoping they didn't know about it.
Well, if that was awkward, then the next one, what turns you on? Might be a little awkward.
My wife.
So
Of course my wife. So
see the ladies.
She's the best. So I mean, of course her.
So what turns you off?
Losing turns me off. That's definitely, especially if it's something that I've done wrong, puts me in a bad mood. Yesterday, I played bad. I was in a very bad mood. Sorry to my wife, I guess, last night, but...
Well, if losing puts you in a bad mood, what's your favorite curse word when you're in that bad mood?
Well, when I'm at home, it's probably very light, but with my friends, it's probably a little bit... It's probably gosh darn at home, so let's keep it family friendly. That's at home.
Slow down.
I got 3 kids.
Yeah.
But just think of the worst curse words possible. That's probably what it is with the boys.
Yeah. And so what sound or noise turns you on? What do you enjoy?
Yeah, maybe not turns me on, but I like really pump up music. So maybe a techno type music. I really like to work out and to kind of get me in the right frame of mind when I'm doing that, and to get me kind of going. I really like music that pumps you up. So maybe some sort of techno stuff. My buddy puts all of this stuff on my iPad for me, or iPod for me. So I don't really know what it all is.
His own personal DJ.
But I don't know. I enjoy that stuff to kind of just get pumped up.
And what sound or noise just drives you crazy?
Baby's crying.
Baby's crying.
I have 3 kids under 3.5, and when they're crying, it's not enjoyable.
Well, what profession other than playing poker would you like to attempt?
I mean, I've done some stuff in real estate in the past, and I would like to do something like that in the future. I really
maybe more fantasy then, something fantasy? That
man, I would. Yeah, I would love to. I mean, I've got 17 and a half years or I guess a little over 17 years to get on the senior PGA Tour. So that would be amazing. Yeah. I'm terrible at golf, but that would be the fantasy. It would be to go out there and golf every single day and to play in that. That would be amazing.
Well, you kind of have the profession that can get you the buckets to practice and get on that green.
And my father-in-law is a professional golfer, so
it's in the bloodline.
Yeah.
So what profession that you would totally not want to do at all?
Gosh, I don't know. There's so many that you could just not want to do.
Yeah. I told you it wasn't going to be easy.
I wouldn't want. I mean, probably. When I was a kid, I used to, like, my mom paid me to clean out chicken coops that were done
Yeah.
for, and it was so. That would be the only thing I can really remember that was really terrible. No, you know what? You know what I'm going to go with? I'm going to go with yard work. Because I did yard work a whole bunch when I was a kid and working for it.
Yeah.
And I hear all these people talking like they want to do yard work and, like, you know, mow their lawn and everything else like that. I do not do that anymore, and I never want to do that again. So I'm going to go with yard work. Or
That's a good
any
one.
of it.
Well, last one. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you enter the pearly gates?
You were a good person.
You are a good person.
But you know what? I would like him to say it.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
It's always good to come from the top.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Scott, now that we've gotten the questionnaire out of the way, it's time to really dive in.
Okay.
Obviously an accomplished poker player. When did you start, like, really kind of saying, like, this is something that I can do for a profession? Like, you know, what age were you? What was your life situation? And also, how was that, you know, coming home and saying, hey, Mom, Dad, guess what?
Well, I didn't start playing poker till I was like 22 or something like that. My brother came and asked, like, cause I was actually in the real estate. I was doing mortgage brokering, or I don't even know if that's saying it right. So everybody was a mortgage broker back then. But so he asked to play at my house, and I was like, yeah, of course. And you know, it was just a small $5 game.
Mm-hmm.
So I played. I mean, I was terrible, but I just was aggressive, and I ended up like. The first 2 days I played, I got first and got second. I was like, wow, this is fun. This is easy. So I just started like practicing and getting better, and then kind of shot up the ladders. Back then, like everybody was terrible, so it was a little bit easier. But yeah, so I mean, probably a couple years after that, or a year after that, I started winning some tournaments, and I felt like it was something I could do.
Well, how was the support with your parents? I mean, you know, in your immediate family, like, you know, it's very difficult to sit there and say, you know, oh, I'm going to be a professional poker player. Even when you can show like, oh, well, I've done this and I've been successful in that. There's still that stigma that comes with the whole world.
That's true. Well, what happened was, I mean, I started out later than most people. So, I mean, I was 22. So, and I'd had some success and stuff. And so my mom was pretty weary,
Mm-hmm.
but then she also believed in me as a person, said he wouldn't do this if he couldn't do it, because she knows me as a person. So she was a little bit wary of it. Wary, whatever.
Gotcha.
But she was still supportive and said, like, you know, I know if you're doing it, then
Mm-hmm.
it's an okay thing to do.
Yeah.
And then, and I mean, my dad was supportive too. So
That's awesome.
it was never something that was too much question. They probably had something in the back of the mind, but I think my dad knew that if he said anything like, my dad probably never said anything because he knew if he said I couldn't do it, then I would just do it 100%. So he probably kept his mouth shut and was like, well, if he's gonna fail, he'll fail on his own, and then he'll.
But the whole dichotomy of the word "can't" with you and
Mm-hmm.
how, like, you embrace it, and, like, you know, it certainly is very negative, but you use that as your motivation. You know, when you were growing up, obviously you weren't, you know, 5, 6, 7 years old, you know, playing poker, and you said
Mm-hmm.
you got started later in life. So where did you see your trajectory, you know, growing up? Like, how did that, before poker came in, where were you seeing yourself kind of going?
Well, I mean, I loved sports, so I grew up playing baseball and soccer mostly, and then I played a little bit of football in high school too. I mean, I think my parents kept me out of it because it's a little bit dangerous, I guess. I mean, I wish I would have played more because I think that with my skill set probably would have been best for football. But
Sure.
but I loved baseball, but I never. I mean, I played in college, but never really felt like I had a shot to make it all the way to the.
Is there something that maybe draws you to, like, a lot of, you know, ex-athletes, and not just professional athletes, you know, but, you know, high school athletes, certainly college athletes, there is this progression that kind of, like, as you get older, like, you know, you could never play, you know, pick up football, you know, but you can play poker, and there is that, does that kind of satisfy that competitive?
I think that that's 100% true. I think that so many players that played sports, they don't have anything to do that, to be competitive in anymore. Where poker allows them to do that, not just like yeah, maybe you can play a pickup basketball game, maybe a pickup football game every once in a while, but you're not going to find guys that are going out and doing that. If you're playing poker, you can find that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, some of these guys may go into softball, or there's even some adult baseball leagues and stuff like that. But poker is just 100% of the time you're always going to have that competitiveness every single time you go play. So that's why so many of these guys just go into it. I mean, I know I'm the same way.
I mean, poker is your profession. You know, there's so many people, you know, especially at the World Series, that are playing, you know, just for the fun and the love of the game. When you kind of move to that professional level, you know, poker can't really always be your escape. So how is the balance? I mean, you're a family man, you've got kids, you're married, but what do you look for? You know, where most people look for poker as their escape, what do you escape from poker?
Well, I mean, I've got a very perfect wife who allows me, like, when I need that escape, she lets me go golf. I get my gym in the morning and stuff like that, where it's, you know, we make sure to give time for that. So I would say, like, golfing and the gym, those are like my release times. So I love going out there and golfing with my friends and throwing a few bucks around and just relaxing.
Well, I can't not dive into the perfect wife. When abouts did, like, in comparison to your poker career, did you guys, you know, meet and then finally get married?
I met her like when I was just kind of getting into poker. I hadn't really played much live. I played a few like small tournaments locally and everything else like that. And I started to meet her. So she was there since like the beginning of before I'd ever won anything. And I mean, she didn't even know, like, when I would tell her, like, oh, I just won 41K in this tournament. She was like, I have no idea what 41K is. She didn't know, like, so she was, you know, she didn't know it was 41,000. She was just didn't know what poker really was at that time. So she was like, oh, good job, right? You
How is that? I mean, because there's, you know, you have to deal with, you know, the female's parents too. You know, like when you were introduced and it's like, oh, he plays poker. Like, I mean, I've run into it and I've talked to plenty of other players. Like, they're like, oh, you know, red flag, gambling problem and stuff. You know, kind of touch on that, like that first.
That was definitely. I mean, that was. They were very slow to know about that, but luckily he plays professional golf as his career. So when her dad does that, that's being able to explain it is somewhat similar. Granted, you know, like, I mean, even though a professional golfer is not buying into these tournaments, they still, like, sometimes they do, but most of the time they don't have to buy in, but they still have all their travel costs and everything else. So there's all of that involved. So just like a poker player, I travel to some place, I need to pay X amount of money to do this, and then sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. The same thing is for a golfer. So I think that was a big helpful transition for them to kind of be like, oh, okay, you know. And then, you know, we got to, you know, just spent a lot of time getting to know each other, and they knew I was hopefully they know I'm a good person. I think so.
Well, you gave them 3 grandkids, right?
Yeah, I did.
So you're running pretty good on that.
Yeah.
How is that when, you know, you have to jump over into Canada to play online poker, and then you're traveling, you're here for the World Series, but you're a father, like, with 3 kids. How have you been able to kind of manage that? And has poker actually been kind of a blessing for that, because you can kind of create your own schedule?
It is definitely a blessing, and it works out pretty well. My wife and kids are all here, so that's great. That doesn't happen every time I travel, so it's a little bit hard. Like when you're traveling to Europe, you can't be, I mean, my kids are all super small, so you're not going to put them on 12-hour, 15-hour flights with layovers and everything else like that. So usually those I try to plan my trips very strategically, and it's playing a tournament, playing another tournament, you know, not a lot of days off. Taking red eyes to go play the tournament the next day to make sure I have as much time with my kids. But with Canada's pretty easy for me, because I just live like, I'm 40 minutes, or I'm 10 minutes from the border, so I just cross the border in 10 minutes, another 20 minutes I'm at my place, you know, maybe 40 minutes tops. So it's really easy.
Very well.
And it works out pretty well for me too, because I'm going to get there and be able to go and focus in a place like in solitude, instead of being in a place where, like, you know, maybe the kids are going to walk in and, you know, maybe I take a couple bad beats and they don't get to see me when I'm taking some bad beats online, like I might not be at my best. But But
So can we safely say you're like the Superman of poker? You have your own fortress of solitude?
I mean, we can call
Sure.
it that, you know? Sure.
Go with it. Some interesting things, like, you know, when I get the opportunity to do these interviews, you do some research. We both share the exact same birthday, July 19th, 1981.
Mm-hmm.
We'll take gifts. And then you're sitting there talking about cleaning up chicken coops. I cleaned up horse stables. You know, two people that, you know, are cut from different cloths, you know, and then poker finds a way to kind of put these people together. You've managed to have some, you know, close friends, I would assume, in the world of poker. But there are a lot of times where, you know, we're told, like, be careful of poker players, and there's a lot of shady characters. Like, how have you been fortunate enough to find, like, some close friends and really be able to trust them within the game of poker?
Luck, I guess. I mean, I've had some bad luck before, so it takes a while to like really find someone and know that you can trust them and have it be a close like type of relationship. Because, I mean, you probably could talk to any of the people that you're going to interview, and every single one of them has probably been burned multiple times, and they had to learn that lesson. I mean, I tell everybody whenever they talk about lending money, no matter who it's to, you have to be very, very careful. So I'm lucky enough I've got a nice little close-knit group of friends in the poker community, and I've got a very tight-knit of friends at home, so I try to keep it pretty small.
Well, how do you, I mean, you know, there are some guys, like, all their friends seemingly are poker players,
Mm-hmm.
you know, especially the ones that live in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
You have, I'm serious, in the Superman, you have this one life where, you know, you go up to Canada and you play and you run this tour, but then you have, like, really almost a 180 life in Washington where, you know, most of your relationships are non-poker related.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got your family. Like, is that really important in how I almost kind of feel like you have an advantage over the rest of the players because you have these two different lives, you know, and you've managed to merge them together.
I feel very lucky for the situation that I'm in. I wouldn't know how else to describe it except just I'm lucky. I mean, I love the time at both places. I love the competitiveness of poker, but I also just, you know, I love all my time at home. And so when I'm at a poker tournament, I try to really work hard, and so when I'm at home, it's more of get that whole home life situation going on.
Well, we're going to wrap things up, but gotta ask, what's the next chapter for Scott? Like, is it just keep playing poker? Is there some other aspiration that you kind of see moving forward?
You know, I think that I got 3 kids, and I'm going to see where they're going to take their lives, and that's going to probably dictate a lot of what I do.
How soon do you start putting them online poker? You know, don't play PlayStation, play Poker Stars.
Well, we're not getting any video games, so
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll probably play cards as a family, but that'll be the start of it. We're probably going to start out with golf.
Golf.
Yeah.
That's a smart one.
Mm-hmm.
That Tiger Woods guy worked out pretty good starting early. So
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Scott. That's going to do it for Beyond the Felt, sponsored by 3Bet Poker Clothing. Wear what the pros wear. I'm wearing it. Scott's wearing it. We look sharp. This has been one more episode. I'm your host, Jason Harrell, for Scott. We'll see you next time.